Hello, and welcome back to the Daleks Master Plan. Today, I'm going to be doing commentary on episode 8, which I've finally finished doing, and it's uploaded on Dailymotion, which is available in the description below. So I've shown a bit of this already in a previous video, but this is really more of just an update, because I've finished the entire episode now. And so I'm going to be answering a few questions from the previous video, and just some other questions I get in comments, and just other things I want to talk about, because I want to. Some people have been talking about deep fake lately and talking about how it can be used for reconstructions, and I understand what people are saying, but I don't think the technology is really doable yet. We're at a point where it's showing amazing results, but it's kind of hard to translate that on set. Let's say, for example, if we built this set and we had actors who looked like this and they could lip sync, that's still a lot of work. It's not as simple as just replacing a face. It's doing the correct lip syncing in time. It's also finding actors who look similar and who can act similar. It's a lot of work that isn't really cost effective yet. I think in the future, maybe, but when you're still dealing with people on set, I don't see how it's going to be cheaper than doing the animations that we do nowadays. And I find it very difficult to believe that the BBC want to put more money into reconstructing this niche 1960s Doctor Who release. As much as we as fans would love it, I don't really think it'd make a profit. At the end of the day, the BBC are a business and they need to make money in order to make content. Also, with deepfake technology as well, it needs high-resolution images, and when we're talking about classic Doctor Who, the image quality just isn't there. With my reconstructions, a lot of people ask why the lips don't move, and that's a conscious decision because I attempted many different ways of getting the lips to move and it kind of gave an uncanny valley, creepy kind of look to the entire production, and I felt as if just using screenshots of people's faces just looked more natural and was less terrifying. And I wanted to make something that was just really watchable. And I'm heavily inspired by loose cannon reconstructions. And I didn't want to create this horror show. I got one question asking about why don't I wait for the Randolph tapes to be released in order to make this. And I thought that was kind of a weird thing to ask. Well, the Randolph tapes are an improvement. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but it's not at the point where there's anything remarkably different compared to these ones because these versions are already quite good. But it'd be nice to hear the Randolph tapes in full because they will be considerably better. But if the new Randolph tapes come along, I'll just replace the audio. It's not like I have to start from scratch. So the entire animation, I actually did it in color. So all the 3D work, all the sets, they're all in colour. The only things that aren't are the characters. Let's say, for example, if the BBC approached me to make this in colour, which will never happen, I didn't make it for that intention either, and I have no intention of pitching this to them either, it's just what I wanted to do. There is a way I could make this colour if, someone like Kieran Hyman or many other great Doctor Who colour artists out there who'd want to add color to the screenshots of people. It's not really my strong suit. I've done a few bit with adding color to black and white images, but it's not really my thing. I just chucked Kieran's name out because he does some great work, and you should check out his channel, 66 Ramblers. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm sure you've seen his work already if you're watching what I do. One of my main rules with this production was that the Daleks, if they were on screen, they had to be animated, they had to be moving, just so it gave a bit of life to it, and they were the easiest thing to animate, and I didn't have to build them. Aaron J. Klimas made them along with someone else who I will leave their name in the description because I forgot, and I just animated them to move, really. I chose episode 8 because it's kind of my favourite. I just love the whole thing because it goes to so many different locations and it's a bit of a filler story, but it's just a bit of fun, and it has some of the best dialogue. And yeah, I just like it. So all the sets in this are based on the original set plans, so the blueprints and all of that, and also just from photos that still exist of the actual set, which is like quite a few for this actual set itself. It's pretty accurate, but some of the dimensions are off, of course. But I just made it look a little bit bigger than it would have been in the studio, but it's still the same design. It's the same thing that the animations do now. Like the Macro Terror, the sets looked a lot bigger than they actually were, but it's the same set. There's just a bit more room to work around. So this took about 4 to 5 weeks to do, and I just did it after work and on weekends and stuff. But a lot of the elements, such as like most of the screenshots and that, I had already from my previous recreation, but I cleaned them up a lot more this time so they look a bit smoother. I mainly use Photoshop, Premiere, and Maya to do my 3D work and stuff. Photoshop mainly for all the screenshots and that, so I can manipulate and make it look more high definition by putting heaps of different screenshots together. And then Premiere is where I compile everything, and Maya is where I do all the 3D animation and build sets as well. I use the camera scripts as a base. I don't always follow them correctly. That's mainly because sometimes a limitation in my ability of what I can and can't achieve. Sometimes I think, well, a camera would have been set up there, so maybe they would have cut to that shot. It's the same reason like the U-Clan recreation. I think Andrew Ireland, the director of Mission to the Unknown, mentioned in Doctor Who magazine that he didn't always necessarily follow the camera script because, you know, more than one camera would be set up at one time because it's a multi-camera setup, so usually about 3. I don't know how many they use. But if he saw a better shot, he would cut to that one instead, which they would have done back in the 60s as well, so I kind of used that as my justification. Like Bill in this story, who seems to be losing his voice, I am also losing my voice, so I apologize for the terrible audio. So if you guys were watching my original recreations of Daleks Master Plan, I have new images of Bill and a lot of the other cast members just to change it up a bit so you're not seeing the same picture. I found that one of the things that I didn't like about loose cannon stuff is sometimes you just see the same image over and over and over again, which, you know, you can't really help. You know, there's only so many images that are available. So I try to get as many screenshots from as many episodes as I could, so you've got a bit of a change. My original plan for this reconstruction was just to do the Dalek shots and that was it. And I was just going to keep the loose cannon reconstruction. It was just going to be a private thing, and I was going to release the Dalek scenes and that was it. And then I got a bit carried away and did everything because I can't help myself. Because I think the loose cannon reconstruction really holds up today. And I think my main intention was just say, what if they were doing it in 2019? What could they achieve instead of 2003 when they first made it? Because a lot has changed since then. What you can and can't achieve in technology has changed a lot. So that's kind of my motivation. It was loose cannon, it was more loose cannon inspired than it was animation inspired. In this cricket scene, someone on Facebook mentioned that the scoreboard was incorrect, and that's because I literally just got it from stock footage. I know nothing about cricket. I'm not really a sports person, so I apologize to the sport fans out there who did not like that. I was trying to use nothing that loose cannon recreated, but of course, like the shot of the TARDIS on the cricket field and the shot of Trevor as well was completely stolen by loose cannon because they did such a great job, I couldn't beat it. So stuff like the volcano footage was from Motion Array. I'm not sponsored. I wish I was. I used a lot of stock in this for some of the stuff I really couldn't achieve myself. But that's, you know, in the original production, they used stock footage for the volcano stuff, so I did the same. Like, I think just having these Daleks animated in, you know, scenes where they're talking to Malvik Chen and stuff, it just adds so much more to it, and it makes it feel like the episode's back a bit more. When there's so many Dalek scenes in this episode alone, you know, it just feels as if you're actually watching the episode, even though it's very obviously CGI, but it just gives that bit more of credibility to the reconstruction. It's a bit harder in scenes where it's just endless dialogue between human characters, you know, and it just feels a bit stagnant for a while. But when you get great creatures like the Daleks, which are so easily animated, it makes the reconstruction come to life a lot more, and I kind of love that. I think like Loose Cannon's Evil the Daleks reconstruction animated the Daleks like a lot more, and I think that reconstruction really stands up today, especially the final episode where you feel like The Daleks are animated every second, and it's a really solid reconstruction. I feel as if Evil Daleks is a great story to be like a jumping on if you're trying loose cannon reconstructions. Even though it is 7 parts, it can be a bit grueling, but because of the amount of animation in it and the stuff that they went out on location and shot footage, it's definitely their most ambitious reconstruction. I would recommend it. So for the volcano set, I mainly based it on the model shot rather than the actual set, just because I wanted a more of a unified look and I thought the model looked a bit better. And there were more photos of the model than there was of the set. But basically they kind of look very similar to the original design. One thing I didn't notice was there was 2 separate volcano sets on the actual thing until you can look at they have like a surviving shot of the entire studio with all the sets set up for this episode. And you can see there's 2 separate sections for the volcano, and that made my reconstruction a lot easier. But one of them there's like no photos really of it, so I kind of made it up. So my TARDIS model, the exterior prop is based on designs by the TARDIS Builders Forum. My original prop I built wasn't very good and it wasn't nowhere near accurate, whereas this one's a little bit closer. It's not perfect, but I'm not really much of a model builder. But I think it works, and you get what I'm going for, really. So the interior of the TARDIS isn't really accurate to the Daleks Master Plan. For one, it wouldn't have been that bright. The roundels were generally dark at that point. They just weren't backlit anymore, which is a shame. But I made them bright because that's what I want. So much happens in this story. There's just so many locations. I used a lot of like the shot of the monk coming out of his TARDIS. I based that on the loose cannon reconstruction because they did the exact same thing, but I made it look a bit more realistic for him to come out of an actual rock and try to make it match a bit more. But there's so much from the Time Meddler, that footage that exists of the monk walking around the TARDIS, and that you can just slot it into the episode, and that's kind of what I did. But I will probably censor that bit for the YouTube upload. But you can watch it on Dailymotion, you can see the whole thing. And I was finally happy to get more of an accurate looking TARDIS for the first Doctor, something that I haven't really done. Yeah, there's a few errors in this episode, like people would disappear for a second or stuff like that, but like a lot of people expect my work to be like BBC quality when, you know, I'm just doing this in my free time. It's not really meant to be seen by a mass market. It's just for my own personal enjoyment, and I'm sharing it with people because I know other people are interested in my work. And I get that on a lot of my videos, that people will complain about my voiceovers and stuff like that, and it's like, this is just my YouTube channel. It's what I do for fun, you know. If this was an official BBC production, you know, it'd be a more attention to detail. You know, I wouldn't be the voiceover in my videos, but because it's for me, why shouldn't it be me? I always think it's a bit silly that people criticize my voice so much, and it's like, this is just what I sound like. And if you don't like it, I don't care. It's just... Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I love this shot coming up of the monk holding up a rock to hit William Hartnell. And I actually used a toy penguin that I have to take reference images. So it's actually me holding up my toy penguin, and I just made it look like a rock. But it's still the penguin in the shot. If anyone's asking, the toy penguin's name is Bean, which, you know, I bet all of you are asking that. But I love this whole scene between the monk and the first Doctor here, and even with Stephen as well. Just to have that, it's kind of nice to have a recurring villain that isn't the Daleks in the first Doctor era, and to have someone who is so funny and they bounce off each other so well. And it's a real shame that the monk didn't come back more. And I think if this episode survived, I think the monk coming back might have been more of a thing that could have happened in the show, because he's so charismatic and so funny. And I think, unlike the Master, I think this is like a character that really is closer to the Doctor than they are the Master. You know, they're more... The monk's like ambition is just to have fun and mess around with events rather than own the galaxy like the Master does. So I think he's a lot more like the Doctor. So I think he's an interesting character and I'd like to see him returned. He features in a few Big Finish audios. I listened to like one, I think with the 8th Doctor, I can't remember the name of it, but I thought the character works so well. There's the shot coming up as well with when the TARDIS door is locked and it's like burnt off and you've got the Doctor unlocking it, but you can see him holding the Terranium core in one hand because I used a shot from episode 10. But I wasn't going to remove the Terranium core because I don't care. Just don't look at that. Just ignore it, all right? One of the things that I find really confusing is the scene where the ring has some unspecified power that mends the lock, and it's like, how do I reconstruct this to make it work? And I was looking at the original camera script and it didn't help at all. And I just thought, how are the audiences watching this and thinking, oh, this makes sense? And it doesn't help that later on in the TARDIS when he explains it, he doesn't really explain how it worked or anything. It was just a mess. So when I was putting this together, I just hoped that the audience got my visuals and understood what it was doing. And the shot of the sun in the sky is actually from Daleks Master Plan 10 as well. And I just took the sun part and messed it with a shot of a cloud to make it look original, even though it's the same. So it's a similar sort of effect they could have achieved. But yeah, it's a really curious scene and really odd. And I kind of like it, but like I can't really tell you what it means or how it worked. Basically, I'm just saying the Doctor's ring is basically the precursor to the sonic screwdriver. But who knows? It's a mystery. So the shot of the TARDIS doors opening, on the inside you can see the interior. And I decided to choose actually showing the interior instead of a black because I did a poll on Twitter and people preferred the interior being shown. Some people hated it, and that's up to you. But at the end of the day, it's my reconstruction, not yours. So get over it. So the shot of Bill holding up the ring is from the War Machines. And then I finally got to use that great promotional picture of Bill Hartnell outside the TARDIS from Marco Polo, which is a beautiful shot, which they used in the original loose cannon reconstruction. You can see the image quality difference for the photos that are available nowadays in stunning high definition compared to the low resolution scans I had in the past. So it's little things like that in official reconstructions that I look forward to. There's a shot coming up that would totally... My rule of thumb was, if it could have been achieved, do it. It doesn't matter if they did it or not. If they could have physically pulled it off in studio, then do it. The shot of the monk, like a long shot on that. They could have done that in studio, did they? No, but they could have. And then again, I added that exterior shot of the TARDIS spinning. That was just something I wanted to do for fun. That was not in there. I love the scene where the Doctor tries to explain his ring because you can just tell Bill Hartnell has no idea what's going on. But I don't think it's really his fault because, like, how can you remember a line where it doesn't even make any sense? He's just making it up. And I think it kind of falls in the character of the Doctor as well, just to make up excuses for things he doesn't understand as well. So I let it go. I think it's fine. Plus, a lot of, like, William Hartnell's so-called fluffs are scripted anyway. The shots of Sarah Kingdom here are from a different production that I just took the face off and just added it to the costume. So sometimes she can look a bit off, and that's because it's all just Photoshop. But like, you can see in this TARDIS scene how many shots I've gotten here. It's just endless. And that's because I find in reconstructions, just a simple locked off shot is so boring with people. So I try to put as many different pictures of the cast as I could, especially the main cast when so many images are available. This shot of the Daleks entering the time capsule is just a loop. It's the same Dalek going in and out, so you can see him disappear for a second. And I was like, yeah, I ain't fixing that. I spent like 3 hours rendering that out. So it was done. This shot of like from the gantry, so to speak, of just like the Daleks move around took like so long to render. But I think it's worth doing shots where it's just one long shot, because that's kind of what they did back then. And there wasn't many like quick camera changes in that. It's usually like one locked off shot. So I thought I could do this one. I think it works really well with Daleks because they're moving. Whereas I hate reconstructions where it's just a still shot of someone's face for 30 seconds. It's unwatchable. So all of this New Year's Eve stuff was added because this episode was actually aired on New Year's. So similar to like the Feast of Stephen that was on Christmas Day, this one was the week after, so of course it was New Year's. I actually replaced a shot from Loose Cannon that I really love that they went and took of the TARDIS outside, I think, St. Paul's. I'm not from London, so I don't know the locations very well, sorry. It might be a museum of sorts. I'm not an expert. I'm going to get so much hate for that. But I just redid it, my own version of it, but their version is way nicer. So this other stock footage of Big Ben and that's from Motion Array as well. Yeah, this is one of my favourite episodes, and it was nice to reconstruct it properly this time. I don't know if I'll do any more. I probably will in the future, but there's no rush, and I have no plans on doing it anytime soon. But thanks to those who are watching and enjoy it. And yeah, watch the full thing on Daily Motion as well. And thank you to those who stuck through my commentary. I really appreciate it. So we're finally reaching the end of the episode, and this is some of my favourite stuff of just like the Daleks just hanging out. Yes, there is a lot more Daleks than would have been on set. There would have been like 4. I think they only had 4 for this whole thing. But this is my favourite shot of the Dalek approaching the camera. It's inspired by like Power of the Daleks and that. So I wanted to get that Dalek as close as I could to the camera to get him look like he's almost 3-dimensional. His eye like poking you in the face. But yeah, so that's Volcano. Don't forget to subscribe to the official Josh Nair's YouTube channel, and all that stuff. See you later.